Hi there, we're doing it this at last, so thank you for making the time today. I shared with you the some of the research, the results from the research on loneliness.
Correct, yeah.
I'm really interested to get your thoughts on what you think on some of those.
Same. I thought a stark difference between the responses between men and women, and what could the reasons be for that? Um, it's generally understood that women are perhaps more open to mental health issues and the conversation than men are. So perhaps that's there. Men perhaps saw it and decided they didn't need to talk about it or didn't want to talk about it. Then other guys perhaps do feel they want to, but didn't feel able to. And then you perhaps have the smaller amount of guys who did feel they want to have the conversation. And it just makes me wonder what's behind that. And I say, kind of wanting to know more, wanting to know who the guys are that are responding and why are they responding. Also, the ones that didn't respond, why didn't they respond? And then as well, like say, the looking at the numbers, men feel more lonely than women.
Yeah.
It's not a major surprise. Obviously, it's issues of men's mental health is becoming more and more relevant. And as well, within the data you provided me, it has the different questions, the top 3 questions that women answered and men answered.
It's 20 questions. What I really liked about it was that it doesn't say, do you feel lonely? Or how lonely do you feel, or anything that really and none of it includes the word lonely except the title of the questionnaire.
You say to a guy, do you feel lonely? They wouldn't say they feel lonely. That survey asks a multitude of questions and gives you a matrix to kind of look at and different ways of thinking about it rather. So I think, in my way of looking at it, it sounds like women are feeling they're lacking sort of a deeper level of connection. I think with men, definitely this, and I say your research for me corroborated that, they do feel a little bit ignored, overlooked, superfluous, all those sorts of things really. And I don't think many of them would say that they feel lonely. They feel ignored, overlooked, superfluous. And I think it's all part of this biggest, what's expected of men, what's expected of women, and actually what loneliness means to us. And I think a lot of that reverts back to what we think is expected of us. There's definitely a difference between how the conversations go with men and how they go with women. But there's certainly some of my female friends who, I know I can start the conversation, not feel like I'm burdening them, and they'll help me with it. And they probably won't actually give me any answers, but just having that vehicle to talk, I feel better. But don't get that with the blokes.
I wonder if there's something about the listening skills. If you grew up and spent your adult life around people who don't speak to each other or don't listen, how do you learn that skill if you don't seen it, you haven't been taught it? So it's perhaps an opportunity on listening skills. Yeah. And if the role models that you had, because your dad, I just went out to get the money, as a man, if that's what you see, then going, okay, how do I do something different? Go like then it's again about finding that shared experience, other people that I've tried this, I've tried that, so you can actually learn. And perhaps that's where the power of some kind of men's groups, I guess, come into play. Yeah. It's exploring those issues freely and openly. Yeah. Of stereotypes versus what you really want to take the mask off.
Yeah.
What it would be like if everyone took their masks off at work. Not literally in a health and safety point of view. We won't want people taking off their safety masks.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like? Would people be taking off their safety mask?
I think it would be. But I think, if you were to go on a building site, I would imagine the people that you see, the person that you see doing the work will be very different in a home life.
Is the mask a good or a bad thing?
I think it's a necessary thing. I don't think you're going to, I'm trying the best way to describe it. Yes, it's definitely, it's not a good thing that the guys do it, but I think it's a necessary thing. I think there has to be, it's like rolling the snowball, isn't it? There has to be the small steps to gather pace, then actually perhaps people feel more comfortable in opening up. It's having the confidence or the certainty that if you were to expose yourself in some way, shape or form, a weakness or something that perhaps the people don't wear, you're not going to be ridiculed for it or thought less of. I think it's men being comfortable to be able to be honest. Because there's a lot. I don't think they're always being honest with themselves or other people about perhaps who they are and what their feelings are, and then it bubbles away and turns into something else: resentment, aggression, substance abuse. I think it's the process that's perhaps started is to raise the awareness and actually to say it's okay to talk about mental health in the male context. It's not an admission of weakness. And maybe that can feed into the fact that perhaps at the home life, if men aren't happy with it, instead of just becoming grumpy dad who sits in front of the TV drinking beer all night or is really snappy, perhaps they can say to the wife, actually, I'm finding this quite difficult. Even men in our 40s, we still, in some ways, we still need role models. If I see a rugby player that I hold in esteem, or I don't know, Arctic explorer, if I see Bear Grylls on TV, which he does, talking about mental health, that not sanitizes it, but it makes it easier for me to talk about it. It's just take the stigma away, or just try and get rid of the stigma. And then, hopefully people can talk more about everything, but it's certainly a step along the way. I certainly feel better when I've, if something's winding me up and I've talked about it, but just the fact I've talked about it, I feel better.